What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Crest of Courage card game channel. Today I've got this awesome Rosemon X Antibody deck profile for you guys. And although it was a few weeks ago already now, I did get second place with this deck in the double Typhoon event, the spring break event, whatever it was, to where everyone had to play all green decks. So this is pretty great for that format, but even beyond that, this is a really strong deck in my opinion right now. So without further ado, let's check it out. All right, so starting us off with the eggs, and I will note right off the bat, the eggs were probably the thing I've had the most difficulty with for this deck. At first, I was using the old EX4 Kokomon that has the inheritable effect to draw a card whenever an effect suspends one of your Digimon, but then I realized I didn't really have a lot of Digimon that suspended themselves anymore once I upgraded to all the X antibodies for this deck. So then I was trying out actually the old EX2 Gummymon that has the effect that when you suspend an opponent's Digimon, draw one, and that one's okay. But again, I felt like there were times when my opponent just didn't have anything to suspend. So currently, I'm playing this one from the new starter set. So when attacking, if you have a green Tamer, draw one. I do play a lot of green Tamers, so pretty easy for that to come up. And it's at least not reliant on, waiting for your opponent to have something to suspend. You can just kind of swing in there to draw one. So I've been liking this one the most currently. I would say Gummymon from EX2 is probably second best in my opinion. Although I even tried out the Tandemon that has when you play a Tamer, draw one, and again I just felt like I wasn't playing enough Tamers to really get that to come up enough. So yeah, there's a lot of good ones you could try out, but personally I like this Gummymon for my egg. Alright, so on to our rookies. We got 12 of them as usual here. So starting us off, of course, we have 4 copies of the BT15 Palmon that has start of your main phase, one of your opponent's Digimon gains all turns. When this Digimon becomes suspended, lose 2 memory until the end of their turn. So that's great defensively because they won't want to attack you, or even on our turn, we have a lot of ways of suspending them to immediately make up that 2 memory and, extend our turn that much further. And then, of course, the inheritable that when this Digimon would Digivolve, if you have a green Tamer, reduce the Digivolution cost by 1. So we're going to see that on a lot of our other Digimon here as well. But next up, we have the new Palmon X Antibody from BT15, who can Digivolve for 0 on a Palmon, like most X antibodies. And it's also got a play cost of 4, and it has on play or when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So not too crazy, but if you just push that Palmon out of raising, give something that effect, so when it's suspended, lose 2 memory, and then immediately Digivolve into this, you can suspend that Digimon and gain 2 memory immediately. So that is a great combo, and what's actually hilarious, because I did pull this off one time. If you Digivolve one of these in raising and then just hard play another one, if your opponent is foolish enough to play something out and have something there for you to be able to move this one up and have both of them use their effects on it, because these effects stack if you have more than one. You can have 2 of them apply to the same Digimon, and then when you Digivolve into the Palmon X on one of them, suspend it and gain 4 memory back is nuts. And, it's pretty much just downhill for your opponent from there. You can just snowball that so far, pretty much go to like a mega on that turn, like turn 2, and then just be winning from there. So it's crazy to pull off something like that when it happens. But this thing also has a cool inheritable effect that when you play a green Tamer, gain 1 memory. So pretty much like having a cheaper cost to playing our Tamers, and it combos with the Togemon that we'll take a look at later that can play our Tamers for a reduced cost as well. And then we have the Palmon here from BT10. Of course, our main searcher on play, reveal the top 4, add a card with vegetation or plant in one of its traits, and a card with fairy in its traits among them to your hand, bottom deck the rest. So this can pretty much get us any of our other Palmons, Togemons, and then also get us any of our Lilymons and Rosemons. So really great to hit 2 things with that sometimes. And that's pretty much it for the rookies. All right, for the champions, of course, I'm playing 4 copies of Togemon from BT14, who you can hard play for 4 if you want to. That's not too bad. But it has your turn once per turn. When you would play a green Tamer, from your hand by suspending one of your green Digimon, reduce the play cost by 3. So that's really strong. You can get pretty much a free Tamer off of that. And like I said, comboed with the Rosemon X Antibody inheritable to gain a memory back. You can just play one of our memory sitters for free at that point, or actually gain a memory if you play one of our other Tamers. So that's really great. And then it also has the inheritable that when you would Digivolve, if you have a green Tamer, reduce the cost by 1. So, you know, later levels, you can really start reducing that cost by a lot if you have that and the Palmon. But then we have 4 copies of Togemon X Antibody from BT15. Has the effect to Digivolve on a Togemon for 0, like the other X Antibodies. When Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon can't unsuspend until the end of their turn. If Togemon or X Antibody is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So this thing is great to Digivolve off of your Palmon X after you just suspended something, because you don't really need to have that effect to suspend something, you know, if there's a Togemon under it. You can just lock them out of unsuspending is really strong. And if you do have a Togemon under it, great, then you get to suspend something else too if they have multiple Digimon or whatever. Honestly, I can't tell you how many times that has just won me games, because sometimes you don't have to get rid of a threat, you can just stop it from hurting you. You know, you can just lock it down and prevent it from doing anything without actually getting rid of it. So sometimes that is all you need to do. And it has the inheritable effect that your turn, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon. Not too bad. Of course, they're going to have a few of them with all these suspending effects. Last but not least, we're playing 2 copies of Sunflowmon from BT13. I prefer this one. You could also play the other one that has the effect to, you know, suspend something to play something out with 3000 DP or less. You know, you can play pretty much most of our champions and rookies at that point for free, which is great. But the way I play this deck, I personally prefer this one that has the main effect. By suspending this Digimon, one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon card with Fairy in one of its traits in the hand for the Digivolution cost. When it would Digivolve by this effect, reduce the Digivolution cost by 2. And, you know, again, if you have the Palmon under it, it's reducing it by 3 at that point. So free Digivolution, pretty much. And then also when this Digimon would Digivolve, if you have a green Tamer, reduce the cost by 1. So same inheritable on that as well. But that about does it for the level 4s. So moving on to our level 5s. First of all, we're playing 3 copies of Lilymon Ace, who is a pretty good ace card. You have the, of course, hand counter blast Digivolve to Digivolve on your opponent's turn. On play or when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then you may return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon with 5000 DP or less to the bottom of the deck. So that can be really strong to remove some stuff, but that's a you may effect. So there are times when you actually don't want to put it back at the bottom of your deck. There are some effects that we have that, you know, you want as many suspended Digimon on the field as possible. So, you know, there's a give and take there. Defensively, it's great, you know, to stop something else from hitting you or whatever. But offensively, if you're Digivolving this on your turn, there's a good chance that you may not want to bottom deck it. And then we have 3 copies of Lilymon X Antibody, who of course Digivolves for 0 on a Lilymon. And when Digivolving, if there is a suspended Digimon, gain a memory, and if Lilymon or X Antibody is in its Digivolution cards, draw 1 for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon. So that's one of the reasons we might not want to bottom deck something. You might want to Digivolve into Lilymon Ace, suspend something, Digivolve into Lilymon X to gain a memory, and then, you know, draw multiple cards, you know, for them having a bunch of suspended Digimon or whatever. So yeah, that's one of the reasons. And then you also have your turn, gain 1000 DP for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon. So again, if you Digivolve this up into like a Rosemon, you're going to want to have that extra DP for having multiple suspended Digimon. And last but not least, we have Lilymon, who has when Digivolving, you may play 1 Yoshino from your hand without paying the cost. And your turn, while your opponent has a suspended Digimon, this Digimon gains security attack plus 1. So playing out a free Tamer is great. We are playing 4 Yoshinos. And security attack plus 1 is also really nice to have. There is a Lilymon that does do something similar by giving security attack plus 1 when you suspend an opponent's Digimon. In my opinion, That's obviously not as good because you have to suspend something that turn. And with this, they just have to have something that is suspended. You know, the inheritable effect doesn't need to be there to see it happen, etc. So, plus, you know, it has the free play Tamer effect. So, if you want to play all Lilymons, I'd say play the EX1 Lilymon. I think that is for the security +1 effect. But otherwise, really like the Lilamon. And that is going to do it for our level 5s. All right, so on to our level 6s and 7. I'm just playing 2 copies of each of them. We have, starting us off here, 2 copies of the BT15 Rosemon, who has, when Digivolving, by suspending one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers, unsuspend this Digimon. And then all turns, when an opponent's Digimon or Tamer becomes suspended, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. So I have this one mainly for kind of more defensive plays because of that all turns effect. So if they attack you with something, you can suspend something else. You know, you can slow them down on their turn, prevent them from checking a few times maybe. But, you know, it also can be offensive potentially if you swing in with your level 5, Digivolve into this, suspend something to unsuspend and get another check in, or 2 checks if you got the Lilamon under it. So it can be pretty good either way. But then this one is really the one I prefer offensively, is the Rosemon from BT14, which has, when Digivolving and when attacking, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. And your turn, once per turn, when an effect suspends a Digimon or Tamer, you may unsuspend this Digimon. So again, it has an effect to unsuspend itself, but it suspends things when Digivolving or when attacking, so it's just a little bit easier to pull off the unsuspend, and you can actually suspend more things on your turn that way. So yeah, I like both of them. They both play pretty well. So that's why I just got 2 of each. If you prefer one over the other, I don't think it really hurts to play like 3-1 or 3-1 or 4-0 or whatever. Whatever floats your boat there. I think they're pretty equal. Next up, though, we have the brand new shiny Rosemon X Antibody, who of course digivolves on a regular Rosemon for a cost of 1, and it has, when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon and one of their Tamers, and they can't unsuspend until the end of their turn. So right off the bat, super powerful effect to suspend an opponent's Digimon and Tamer and prevent them from unsuspending. And then it has an opponent's turn effect that once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon is played, you may suspend one of their Digimon. So, you know, again, slowing them down if they try to play something, you can immediately suspend it or another Digimon altogether. And then opponent's turn, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon is moved from the breeding area to the battle area, if Rosemon or X Antibody is in its Digivolution cards, you may suspend one of their Digimon. So again, as soon as they move from the breeding area, you can immediately suspend them before they can do anything. Very strong effects. And last but not least, however, we do have 2 copies of Rosemon Burst Mode from BT13. And this, of course, has the Burst Digivolution effect that you can Digivolve it for 0 on a Rosemon by returning a Yoshino to the hand. And then at the end of the turn you Burst Digivolved, you have to trash the top Digivolution card, or the top card of this Digimon, rather. So that would be this one, and you know, it goes back down into the Rosemon underneath it, basically. But it also has, when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon and one of their Tamers, and until the end of your opponent's turn, all of their Digimon and Tamers don't unsuspend. That's pretty freaking nuts, honestly. Just lock down their whole entire board with that. But then it also has, when attacking, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack for every 2 of your opponent's suspended Digimon or Tamers. So again, that kind of goes back to the Lilymon thing of sometimes you don't want to bottom deck the stuff because you want them to have more suspended stuff out because of the Rosemon Burst Mode. To be able to potentially trash 1 or 2 cards and attack for game is pretty nuts. Yeah, the Burst Digivolution effect is great, and I've actually been able to Digivolve into this thing pretty much without having to pay anything, because if you have the Palmon and the Togemon to reduce the cost by 2, and you have some Yoshinos out, they have the effect that when you Digivolve, you can gain some memory back. So you can pretty much Digivolve into this for free sometimes. It happens. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, you guys, that is pretty much it for the level 6s and 7s. Again, personal preference. If you like any one of these more than the other, you can kind of bump some of them up, bump some of them down. But I personally prefer 2 of each of them, and that's just been working for me. All right, for our Tamers, pretty simple. 4 Yoshinos, 4 Mimis. And taking a look at the Yoshino, she is our memory setter, so we can get set to 3 every turn. But the main reason I am playing 4 of this is because of this awesome effect here, that when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with vegetation, plant, or fairy in one of its traits, by suspending this tamer, gain 1 memory. You know, that right there, like I just mentioned with the Rosemon burst mode, you know, if you have multiples of this out, you can gain multiple memory back whenever you digivolve, effectively having free digivolutions or even gaining memory off some digivolutions. So that's pretty crazy, and yeah, I think 4 of them is great. Plus, of course, we have ways of playing it out cheaper with Togemon or for free with Lilamon, and, you know, bouncing her back to your hand with Rosemon burst mode can also happen, so sometimes you want to be able to have multiples of them out. But then, last but not least for the tamers here, we have 4 copies of Mimi from BT14, who has on play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon with vegetation, plant, or fairy in one of its traits among them to the hand, and bottom deck the rest. So on-play search is great for a tamer for only 3 costs, and your turn when an effect suspends a Digimon, by suspending this tamer, gain a memory. So whether you're suspending your own Digimon or your opponent's Digimon or whatever, you gain a memory. So of course having multiples of her out is crazy too, because you could simply digivolve into like a Palmon X or something, suspend like 3 of these Mimis, gain 3 memory back. Maybe you gain 5 memory because of the Palmon gave it the start of main phase, you know, if you become suspended, lose 2 memory effect. So yeah, we have a ton of memory gain from these 2. It's super helpful, and I personally would not play any less than at least 3 of each of them. Last but not least for our option cards, playing 2 copies of Agility Training. If you do cut any cards, I would bump this up. It's always nice to see more of these. But yeah, just, of course, no introduction needed really for the trainings. I feel like 2 costs to search 2 cards, take any green card is great, and then the delay effect to digivolve into a green card for -2 the cost, super good. Especially in this deck when we're already reducing costs and gaining memory and everything, you can get some crazy fast digivolutions with that. And then I have 2 cards here. You could easily cut one of these and bump the other one up to 2 if you want. It's really up to personal preference. I like just having both of them for, you know, certain different situations. Ground Fang actually came in handy a lot during the you know, spring break event or whatever with the all green decks, because there's a lot of Mega Gargomon aces. You know, 8 cost is a lot, but you get to return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon and one of their suspended Tamers to the bottom of their deck. So that's super strong. Now imagine a situation where this actually happened quite a few times for me. If they have a suspended Memory Tamer and a suspended Mega Gargomon and you're at 3 memory, play this thing, put them over to 5, bottom deck the Mega Gargomon, bottom deck their Memory Tamer. Now they lose 4 memory, so they're at 1, and you know, they got no more memory setter, nothing, and they're just like, wow, there's no coming back from that. That's a massive loss. And, you know, just bottom decking 2 things, really cutting them off from all that stuff, and putting them at 1, choking them at 1 is so good too. And pretty much same thoughts here. Just suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of their suspended Digimon to the bottom of the deck, and one of their Digimon can't unsuspend until the end of their turn. So this one's really just more for dealing with multiple threats. Suspending something, bottom decking something that is suspended, and then something else can't unsuspend. So really strong options there, you know, can deal with a variety of threats, but that is pretty much it for the options. All right, you guys, so that about wraps it up for this one. This is a great deck. I've had a ton of fun with it. You could also throw in maybe some X Antibody options if you really wanted to. That'd be pretty good. Don't forget to smash that like button because it does help me out a lot, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.